What's up guys, my name is Austin Black and this video is for people like me who ordered the A7 Mark III. B&H just started shipping them, Amazon just started shipping those pre-orders, so you got your new camera and you're wondering, how can I make the most of it? Not only for filmmaking, even though that's kind of my forte with it, but also for photography. Because there's a lot of things you can do for both where you can get better results just by customizing the camera a little bit. Sony does have a pretty confusing menu system, but once you're used to it, you'll learn to love it and you'll learn to love the customizability of this camera. Let me tell you 6 tips that I have for A7 III users. From the moment you get it, you should do these things to just get the most out of this camera. The first thing is one of my favorite features, and I don't think it gets quite enough attention, and that is the brightness of the monitor. Coming from the Sony a6500, where the brightness was just pathetic. You'd be shooting in daylight and you cannot see a thing on that LCD screen. So it is a welcome addition to have the ability to change the brightness of that monitor. So I have it set up as my C3, my custom button 3, so I can just punch in and I can do +1, +2, or -1, -2. I can also use the sunny weather preset, which is the brightest of all of those. So that allows me to dial it up when I'm in daylight and dial it back down when I'm indoors shooting. I can ultimately maximize my battery life and maximize my ability to view what I'm shooting. So to adjust your monitor brightness, you're going to go into the menus and you're going to go into the setup, and right at the top it's that option monitor brightness, and it'll pop up this menu right here, and you can go in and punch it up to +2. You can go down to -2, and then when you have it mapped to a custom button like I do with C3 right here, you can just go down and select the sunny weather one, and that'll get you a really nice bright image, which is super great. Sony put the record button in a better spot. I'm glad to see it. It's right next to the viewfinder. I always like to set my record button to C1 just because it's right where my finger would be if I wanted to record. It just made the most sense to me naturally. But what Sony did with this camera is they allow you to turn on that shutter button to record video. Who'd have thought that that's even possible? So that's basically a big deal because what it does is it frees up one of those custom buttons that you can use for something else. So C1 for me now is to punch into APS-C mode, which is a really useful tool that I might not have been able to map to a custom button had they not made that setting available to us. So that's really nice. Okay, so to set up your shutter record button, you're gonna go back into the menu, you're gonna go to the movie heading or the video heading, and it is under subheading 3. Let's go to 3 right here. And you are going to go to the bottom and do movie with shutter. This one's a little bit hidden. I had a hard time finding it at first, but you're gonna wanna turn that on. Number 3 is center lock-on autofocus. This is a really cool feature. I had it on my Sony a6500. I loved it. I heard that it might not be in the a7 Mark III, so I was happily surprised when I got my camera that you have the ability to enable center lock-on autofocus. And basically what that does is you can just tap the screen, tap an object on the screen, and it will track it across the frame, whether it's moving forward or backwards, side to side. Even if it goes off frame, it will still remember the object that you selected and it'll track it. So basically, this allows the camera to autofocus way better than I'd ever have the ability to manual focus. Just imagine for a moment that you're standing still shooting somebody skateboarding or something. You can just tap on that person and it will track them across that plane. I mean, that saves so much skill in manual focusing. You don't need to do that anymore, and it's really amazing, and it's especially amazing for us run and gun shooters. Okay, to set up center lock-on autofocus on your camera, you're going to go back into the menu, you're going to go to the number 1 heading, the photo heading, and you're gonna go to subheading 6, and then you'll see center lock-on AF. So you'll have it off, you'll turn it on, and it'll pop up this weird kind of menu. Number 4 is something that I've talked about a lot and a lot of people talk about. It's kind of obvious, but it is APS-C mode and clear image zoom. You'll have to go enable clear image zoom in your menu, but I ultimately have them mapped to buttons. I have APS-C mode mapped to C1, so that allows me to instantly make a 1.5 times crop like I'm shooting on an APS-C camera. The sensor size is big enough so that it still resolves to 4K, which is super nice. You're still not losing image quality. And then from there, I can press my C4, which is the trash can, and I can clear image zoom 1.5 times on top of that. So effectively, you can change your primes to zooms. You can get that APS-C look if that's what you want. So that's a super useful feature. Again, for those run and gun videographers, when you don't always have time to switch lenses, or you may not have a ton of zooms because you're shooting in low light situations. So it's really, really useful. But one thing to consider is that as you're punching in, you're cropping the sensor to a smaller size, so that means you are increasing the amount of noise that will be in the picture. You won't lose image quality per se, but the image will be noisier. Anytime you crop the sensor, you're introducing more noise to that image. Okay, so the clear image zoom and APS-C are in 2 different places. I find that kind of counterintuitive, but hey, once you know, you'll never have to do it again. So the APS-C mode is in the photo heading under subheading 1, and it's right at the bottom. You've got the Super 35 APS-C mode, you just click it. You want this to be on manual. And once you have those settings, you can punch in just like that with your custom button. I've got it set to C1. So for the clear image zoom, you're going to go to the video subheading, and you're going to go to 5, and you're gonna turn on clear image zoom. And the same way, you're gonna want that mapped to your custom button. I have it to my trash can, and then you can just press forward and you'll do 1.5 times. So each of these will give you a 1.5 times crop. If you do the APS-C mode, you still retain all of the more advanced autofocus features. If you clear image zoom, then it pops up these brackets and it only allows you to focus through this bracket that takes up almost the whole screen. So I would use the APS-C mode with more regularity than the clear image zoom. Number 5 is the SD card settings. Sony announced this camera and I was super surprised that it has dual card slots. It is a great feature for us professionals. We love dual card slots. We're never gonna have to lose footage or like have to call a shoot quits because there's a problem. This is actually near and dear to me because I had a camera that I had to send off for repair because a part of an SD card got broken off in this card slot. Imagine if that had happened on the shoot. I would have just been out of luck. So it's super nice that you have dual SD cards. What I like to do is have photos record to one, have video record to the other, and then if I fill one card up, I can continue recording video on the other card. That's kind of what I like to do, just because it helps with my file management, having photos on one card, video on the other. It makes sense for me, and I think that that is a really cool, like, little time-saving hack. Next, we've got our record settings for our SD cards. You're gonna go to the setup menu, and it is under subheading 6? Yes, and you've got the record media settings. These are my settings. So you've got it recording video to slot 1, photos to slot 2. Pretty simple. I really like it. It makes it super easy to manage my files. Finally, number 6, it has to do with custom buttons. You can set separate photo and video custom buttons, which is super cool. For example, on my dial, if you press left, in photo mode, it'll change the drive mode, something that's a super necessary feature that you'll have to be changing a lot. Maybe you want to switch to a self timer, maybe you want to switch to rapid fire. It's quickly available. But that doesn't matter for video. So in video mode, pressing left on that joystick will let you adjust the audio gain, which is something, again, that's super necessary for video, doesn't really matter for photos. Okay, so finally we are going to talk about setting separate profiles for custom buttons for photo and video. To get to your custom settings, you're going to go to the movie subheading and you're gonna go to number 8. And you see here we've got a picture one and we've got a film strip one. So we can see that for this one, I've got these settings, if you wanna take a look. And then when you go into the video, it says follow custom photo. So if you look, this is the one that I have separate and it's the audio recording level like I was saying. So anyways, that's it. I hope it helped. Those are 6 things that you can do to kind of optimize the a7 Mark III. I'm absolutely loving this camera. Let me know what you'd like to see me shoot with it. As always, thanks for watching. My name is Austin Black. I'll see you next time.